I will call the meeting to order. Tasia, would you like to do roll call, please?
Yep, Roxanne Kendall.
Here.
Sheree Link.
Here.
Bruce Belargin.
Here.
Lori Belargin.
Here.
Katie Thermos. Marge Belil.
Here.
Patty Jo Forsberg.
Our district mission: together we engage, educate, and empower all learners, bridging their passions to pathways to create successful futures and positively contribute to our local and global communities. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Marge. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Roxanne. Any comment or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment then. We are to the portion of the meeting where we hear opinions and ideas contributed by students, parents, staff, and other citizens. The board will receive such input without comment or take no action relative to any items brought forth. The board has set aside 20 minutes for this purpose. Please limit comments to 3 minutes and begin with the following information: your name, address, group represented if any, and the item or concern to be addressed. So, Corey, would you like to begin?
Sure would.
Thank you.
Camera moves, cool. Okay, hi, we're back again here. Feels like we're kind of doing the same thing. Parents and community just keep talking and our positions don't change, and our main position is we do not feel heard. Welcome to anybody else to counter that, but I pretty much guarantee at this point no one's going to counter that. We've done extensive work to do recall petitions after talking to 1,000 some community members. We're pretty good at averaging statistics. It's 90-some+%. We've reached almost nobody that disagrees with the basic premise that this board is not doing its basic, most fundamental duty, listening to the public, the majority of the community, teachers, students, parents especially. It's really grotesque at this point. We have been doing this for months and still no response, no discourse among yourselves during meetings. It is a complete blatant, you're leading off, Lori, with that statement of these comments are basically worthless. You say what you want, but we're not gonna do any action based on them. Well, what the heck are we here for? Okay, so I'm just, a couple of points that I'll make tonight. I don't know if it'll make a difference or not. I just know that we aren't going away. So you guys can take this pressure as long as you want, but we're not going away. Are you familiar with the Supreme Court ruling in 64 that really set the precedent for free speech with public officials like yourself, where the New York Times Sullivan case ruled that 9-0 in favor of the New York Times, and their main response cited an earlier opinion from Supreme Court Justice Brennan, and his words are very apropos. Public discussion is a political duty. That this should be a fundamental principle of the American government. Such discussion, he added, must be uninhibited, robust, wide open, and may well include vehement, caustic, and sometimes unpleasantly sharp attacks on government and public officials. That needs to be heard. So I really hope nobody gets buzzed to silence tonight for just sharing their public opinion. We are all reasonable people. You have no reason to say otherwise at this point. We are simply trying to look out for our kids' best interests, and we care about our kids' education way more than your feelings. A few things that really popped out to me when reviewing some of the basic ethics listed in your board policies, that maybe after each one we can give a show of hands if the other parents here agree are not being followed. Board ethics, D.
You have 10 seconds.
Encourage free expression of opinion by all board members and seeks systematic communications between the board, students, staff, and all elements of the community. Have you guys been doing that?
Corey, your time is
No.
up.
F.
Corey, your time is up.
I think with the amount of people in 20 minutes, we can have maybe 5 minutes or so.
Sorry.
You really don't want to hear me, do you, Lori?
Corey,
You're
I
making that
heard
very apparent.
from you several
You
times.
have the power to say, sure, Corey, go ahead a little bit longer, but I understand.
Go ahead and sit down.
I understand, you don't
Thank
want to
you.
hear it. Loud and clear.
Jackie,
Hi, my name is Jackie Olson. I'm here again, and we have no choice but to continue to be a voice at these meetings because you have failed to hear from the administration, teachers, staff, and community, and the parents with your, quote, parent survey. As a board, you have literally 2 more meetings before the school open house for the start of the fall. 2 more meetings. What have you done as a board to prepare our children to be educated this fall? What have you done to mend the 30-plus pages of negative staff comments about this board? What have you done? What have you done to make sure our administration and staff feel valued and want to stay working at the school district? What have you done? Some of you have been so worried about this virus, and that has been the only focus for the last year and a half, not the education and academic goals for our students, not making sure teachers and staff are satisfied working here. The only virus we need to worry about is some of you. We are tired of the continued divide, toxicity, unethical, unprofessional, demeaning, hidden agendas some of you board members have. It needs to stop. We need to listen to one another and realize we're on the same team, just as your school motto says, together we engage, educate, and empower learners. You need to ask yourself, are you trying to work together? I can truly say from what I've seen, you are not working together. We are the same in the sense we all feel strongly about our personal choices, but we have 2 differences. One of them is once you guys enter this room and sit in these chairs, you literally must not think of your personal opinions or fears or the fears of St. Croix County, the fears of the CDC. You were voted in the school board by we the people. You took the oath to be our voice. Ask yourselves, are you listening to we the people and being our voice? If not, you're not doing your job. Are you engaging with the community, sending out surveys to actually find out what the people want? Or returning phone calls or emails? You're not. The second difference between me and some of you is I actually have kids that are currently in this school district and you don't. The decisions you're making about my children and our children doesn't affect you at all. Your decisions directly impact me and my family, and you can go home after every meeting and nothing changes for you. The decisions you make have so much impact that our family and others have no choice but to take our kids from this school. A school they've grown to love over the years, and away from their friends, teachers, and coaches they've grown to love. All because of some of you have failed to remove your personal hats before you sat in these chairs to be our voice. Sorry. These are all the school districts in the state of Wisconsin that have gone mask optional. I don't know what makes our school different, but you might want to consider asking yourself that. Is 2 cases out of 91,000 people in St. Croix County enough? Is that what's going to hold us back from going mask optional? No one's telling people they can't wear masks. We have a long haul ahead, and none of us are going anywhere until you start waking up and listening to we the people. Discernment is the ability to examine and judge well. Discernment allows us to make decisions on our own based on the God-given right to examine a situation
Jackie,
and make the
time
best
is up.
personal decision. I'm almost done. Discernment is more than what you just see or hear. A leader without discernment and
Jackie,
knowledge
your
leads to
time is
chaos
up.
and destruction.
Keep going.
A leader with discernment and knowledge maintains order. Action item number
Jackie,
1
your
tonight
time
should
is
be
up.
Let her
get
finish.
this board under order and start listening to the people. You have 2 meetings to figure this out. It's urgent and it needs to stop.
Thank you. Thank you.
Monet.
Monet Skerka, my daughter goes to the school here, possibly. This school board is the representation of our school, teachers, our staff, our students, and the community. You represent us. On the board this last year, I have seen bullying, I have seen lying, and personal agendas, and constant stance of not listening to the people. Our school can and deserves to do better. I would like to see more transparency within our school board, as well as more communication. There has been some board members who have not emailed or responded and gave knowledge back to any of the parents or teachers' comments of the board. I emailed Lori asking for an explanation of the survey that was sent out. I had questions as to who made the survey, who's compiling the information, why were we able to do more than one response? Why were people who didn't have kids able to do the survey? It was for the parents. And why is it only regarding summer school and not fall? There was no response. No response was given besides an automated email that said she will not be checking emails daily. If we need to get a hold of her, please call, as there's no phone number listed. I would like to thank the board members who are available and who do reply to the emails. And they represent us. And I still can't understand why there has been no mention of the board member who blatantly lied about the knowing about the special session meeting on 5/27/21. Katie states in an email she did not see the special sessions email until 5:25 p.m. that evening, when an open request record stated and brought to the public's attention that showed she did open up that email prior to the meeting. She opened it up at 9:14 and she opened it up at 1:01. So my concern is there was no acknowledgement of that lie, there was no accountability of that lie, nothing. It was just swept out under the table like it never happened. We cannot have lying active on this board. Board members need to be held accountable for their actions. And as I stated at the beginning, the board is to represent we, the people. Thank you.
Brandon?
I'm Brandon Wallen. While we as a community recognize that us showing up and speaking may feel redundant and exhausting, we need you to realize that we have no plans on pulling back. As we push further and further ahead, it's becoming abundantly clear of the path before us and the plans that many of you have to continue to circumvent our parental rights over our children's health and well-being. We see it for what it is. You continuously lean on the side of the experts, but are ignoring what's right in front of you, at the expense of our children and community. As of July 11th, 2021, St. Croix County continues to put us in a medium risk zone, following the Harvard Path to Zero guidelines. This is defined as 1 to 9 cases daily per 100,000 people within a community. The suggested guidelines are for rigorous testing and tracing. St. Croix County has 2 daily new cases per 100,000 people, 0 hospitalizations, and 72 total deaths since March of 2020. The youngest age group to experience a COVID-related death is the 40 to 49 age group. We have had 1. How far will this be pushed? We are 16 months in. Fear tactics are being deployed once again regarding the new variant. At this point, one would need to be willfully ignorant to what has become apparent. This is not about control, not a virus. Or this is about control, not a virus. Our community is speaking up. We're trying. Not all of us can even come inside tonight, which is, I think this needs to be moved to a gymnasium, maybe a bigger classroom. I think there's plenty of property up. Is there plenty of big space up here?
Yes.
All right. I don't know if we need the 2 that are, did they already get recalled? Or is that, are they not here for other reasons, or have they been recalled already?
It's a good
Katie-
question.
Katie
It's a
and
good
Patty?
answer for that.
Yeah,
Well, their
I
seats
don't know
look
why
good
those
empty.
are not here.
Their seats look good empty tonight.
Quite a coincidence.
Our community is speaking up, and we are here, and we will continue to be here. We will continue to push. We'll continue to demand what's right. Each choice you make against the community you serve only helps our cause, not yours.
Thanks, Brandon.
Since Julie nor Jim are
Nope.
here,
I'll make one more look.
okay.
So without these 2 here, what's the voting like on this agenda tonight? You guys answer.
It's still an uneven number, so would be
So majority rule in the vote for the agenda item tonight?
Nope. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the student handbooks. How would you like to proceed?
So we have more time for public comment?
Middle school, high school, elementary school, all school?
Steamroll.
I don't have anything formal. You have the memos for the all-school. Shannon and Pam and I met to go over it. Probably the biggest change, just speaking an overview, we did clarify backpacks and purses, as that will look different in each building. We had changed it last year, and they're gonna keep some of those pieces in place at the high school, whereas at the middle school and the elementary, we're gonna ask the kids keep their backpacks either in their cubby or in their lockers. There are no longer any computer labs in our district, so that was completely struck. We had a couple of additions to the dress and grooming. We clarified leaving the building and campus, only our high school seniors are gonna have the opportunity to earn that Spartan Flex time. We did the medication was out of date, and so parents agree to medication administration when they do their enrollment in the fall every year. So we took out, because it read as a piece of paper before that. And then big changes at the end with our technology use. Since all students 5th grade through 12th grade now have Chromebooks, we wanted it to reflect that. And we did add the device protection plan to the end of this, just so it's in more places for parents to see, so that they don't miss it, as an effort to communicate as much as possible. So, not major changes to our handbook as far as a K-12, K-12.
I had a couple of questions about the all-student handbook. I believe Mark is checking into a federal mandate regarding masks on buses. Right now, it's my understanding that it is required. Mark is checking into it. And I saw that there was some language struck with the dress code about face coverings. And perhaps you might want to put something in there about, because is that piece about, there was a time when face coverings were,
Not allowed to
Not allowed.
reduce because the bandana wearing and that sort of
Right.
thing, so we changed that last year.
yeah,
given
so
the fact
is
that it
that
was a
part out
requirement.
then?
I don't think we have it anywhere in there right now.
Okay.
About face coverings
So,
whatsoever, so I
wait a
don't
minute.
know, I think we could probably leave it as is, because we don't even, I think we took it out of the main paragraph of the dress code.
We might want to take a look at having face coverings to control the spread of airborne disease may be permitted for 21-22 school year.
Okay.
Did anybody else have any questions or comments about the all-school handbook?
So are we,
Doesn't have to be a vote.
no, this is the first reading of it, so are we not doing 11, last year we had 11 and 12, was able to leave because of the COVID, we're just doing seniors this year?
No, no.
Or it was, they were able to school from,
Yeah, so Learn Anywhere.
Learn
Yeah,
Anywhere, yes,
which was kind of
sorry.
born out of necessity from
Yep,
COVID.
yep.
Nope, so that
Learn
program
Anywhere.
is being extinct.
Okay.
And as Sarah kind of mentioned, we want to experiment a little bit with some flexibility with our seniors on kind of a privilege program of being able to leave during their flex time. They would not be able to access a class anywhere other than in person in the classroom. But in terms of flex time, being able to go home if they needed to, kids use that time for lots of reasons and lots of ways. Up until this past year, we've been a completely closed campus. That just has not been an option and probably really wasn't on our radar. We ended up seeing some really positive ways that kids were using some of that time when they were using their flex time in that way. So we're going to pilot it with seniors this year, but only during flex time.
do they have to then check in and
Yep.
audit the office?
Yep. So if they leave, it has to be through the main office. When they come back, through the main office.
So the
and-
person at the office will be monitoring, are they checking it, or is it just they basically are just going through that space?
Yeah,
Or
so-
someone's saying, okay,
You have to check out actually through our scan system.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
And we can actually put something in Infinite Campus, and when a student scans out, a little icon can pop up indicating that they have approval, essentially, to leave for that program. So it reduces kind of the having to search through lists and
Right.
that kind of thing, so.
And do you have something in there about parental permission for students who are under 18?
Yeah, so none of that can happen without parent permission. We'll outline for parents at the beginning of the year, kind of the conditions of which a student would have to meet in order to be able to participate in that program. We'll probably be much more strict than we were this past year. So it's not necessarily a COVID thing, it's more of truly a privilege-based program. So, but none of that happens without parent permission. Mhm.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any questions or comments?
Can you repeat what you said about the masks? Can you repeat what you said? I missed the whole sentence.
About.
What you might like to see
Keeping it as an option, I think.
as an option or as an addition?
The statement, as I read it, was face coverings to control the spread of airborne disease may be permitted for the 21-22 school year.
So maybe, much different than shall be, right? I just want to confirm that.
I think it's basically giving people the option. Back here. Is there be in here too?
And
Is this somebody's spot?
should I keep going? Is that okay? And there's a lot happening here, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think the three of us,
What do
do
you want?
handbooks are a tricky thing.
Don't we have a limit?
We can only have so many people in here.
So the
you know,
others
and-
will have to go.
Let's look at logic, guys, come on.
Yep. You know what? Can't do it. Can't do it. You either gotta have a meeting or.
Logic just says pull your kids at this
Well, I
point.
got a total of 22, and you said 25, I believe, was what you voted on?
20 to 25 is what
You
it
said
said.
20 to 20, it's written in your
That's what it
agenda.
says on
There's
So,
25 of
website.
us, so we should
That
be good.
was
I was doing math class up
what
here.
the guidelines were for a time, and the guidelines have changed, so we need to follow the guidelines.
They changed.
What are the
When did the
guidelines now?
guidelines get changed?
Yeah. When, Lori?
The guideline right on the front page
Still
says
operating
20 to
from what-
25.
You wrote it in your agenda.
Last meeting was
Right.
25 people.
No,
Yes.
It was
That's
What you
25.
voted on, we can
What's
pull
that?
up the
It
minutes.
was
Five extra people walked in
Let me
here
make it
peacefully.
easier for you, I'm gonna leave, okay?
No, don't leave.
Yeah, I got
When you
things to do.
called, it was.
But the dictatorship, Lori, needs to stop.
Yeah.
It will. Back it down.
We have to maintain 6 foot.
Right.
And to do that,
See
we want
right
20
through it all,
25
guys.
people in here.
So if the agenda's not working, you change the agenda as we go?
No, they're not.
Oh, I get it.
Do we have
More
more
chairs
that we can bring in and get in the middle?
That's fine. Then they gotta deal with the state of Wisconsin and then the federal government. Just yank the kids. Get it done with. Pull your kids.
Yeah, we want to finish the meeting. Yeah, we can't do it.
Oh, everybody was just fine.
The chairs,
We didn't stop it.
the chairs are the people we can have in here, okay?
Based on what, I mean, we just said
The
25.
chairs are the people we can have in here, okay?
What happened to
So
the
if-
25 that was
we are a
on the
little
agenda?
tired of
We'll call
blindly
the meeting
following.
off. If you don't want to.
Guys.
We'll call the meeting off.
We are
You know,
trying
it's
to
that
work
simple.
with you.
It's that
So
simple.
let's call it off and
Why
let
did
the
the
general
policy
people
change
show
all
up
of a
and listen.
sudden?
You're not working with us.
We
We've been.
have been trying much harder to work with you than you have been to work with
That's
us.
working with
So,
you.
so hold on a
More
second,
work.
hold on,
You
hold, just,
said
hold
that.
on a second, let me, just, okay.
Let's
do
have
we
discussion, this is good.
Just, Corey, just wait. Can we bring in more chairs to put people 6 feet apart? Can we
Do
roll
you
these?
want to do that?
Let's just bring, yeah, let's just bring it out. Corey, you can sit in that chair,
We can
Brandon,
stand.
I'm gonna sit over by Shannon, and that's,
are 6 feet apart.
well,
6 feet apart.
That's why I said 25 people in a room this size.
that's just, well, then let's just pull it ahead a
You
little
guys
bit.
done playing games yet?
Well,
If we
Come
can't do logic, how do you run our school with more
well,
kids?
so hold on,
guys?
Corey, I'm wondering why you're not sitting in the 2 open chairs, and we
Yeah.
can keep going with the meeting, as Roxanne was trying to bring up a point.
can do
I
that.
think that was kinda in your favor, so
So why don't you just sit down?
let's,
I prefer, I'm gonna
Yeah.
stand.
It's
Okay.
a matter of principle
All right.
and discussion. There's no discussion.
Roxanne, let's pick up where you left off. So I think you were asking what your language was, is that where we were at?
Nope, I was good on that. I just
Okay.
wanted to clarify, may, the word in the sentence was may, which is for me better than shall, so I was good with that. if we're
Okay.
gonna put
I'm
it in.
sorry,
And then Shannon kept going.
Shannon, would you continue, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
What was he even saying?
We
Yeah,
were
so
wrapping
that-
up about being
The
able
all
to
school
leave
handbook,
campus,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And
I think that was leading into a little bit what you guys were saying, that handbooks are kind of a tricky thing, right? Because we know we can't put every what-if scenario possible in our handbooks. We try to make it as general as possible, right? To be able to run and function in our buildings in a safe manner, and then as things come up, then we adjust throughout the year, which we've done, kind of every year as needed. So putting in that language is no problem. We'll put it in there. That way students that choose to wear masks, it's kind of public, that no problem, you can certainly wear a mask at school if you choose to.
So putting May in there would technically protect us for the time when it was not allowed to wear them at all, and it would still be optional to wear it for the students. So they, okay,
That choose to wear them.
is that
Right.
understood? Okay.
So would you like to go next to the elementary or the high school or the middle school?
You go elementary.
Okay,
Really, not a lot of the changes except for like the updating of our school day now is going to be 8 to 3, not 8:10 to 3:10. So go ahead.
I was just wondering, because last year, wasn't it the same arrival time? I'm just wondering if
No,
they couldn't get there till
Well-
8 last year. I'm just wondering if we're giving them enough time in the morning,
it's
because
the
I saw
same drop off.
breakfast.
Parents can still drop off at the 7:50 time, but what happened last year is we didn't actually start school till 8:10, so there's this 20 minutes of
Okay,
time that
so
we were
the-
trying to supervise, and so the school day will actually start at 8.
So the 10
drop off is still the same.
So is that enough for breakfast and all that
Yep,
type of stuff? Okay,
it's the same.
so you're good with that?
Yep,
Time
and then we
frame.
start with that all school, or with the classroom morning meetings and those things too. I'm trying to think, so I did, so most of the changes have been, as Sarah said, remove the information about computer cards. I really updated it, assuming we're going back to some sense of normalcy in terms of like concerts, having those occur again, being able to have people enter the office again, and they still have to come into the vestibule and buzz in. But it's kind of dependent upon where we land in terms of how many, visitors in the building and that kind of thing. I also tried to edit the parent pickup section to try to be as clear. Like last year, we were trying to really identify, like, how does this make sense? We have that larger area, to try to have it make sense where parents will be able to find their children and pick up and drop off. Just updated information regarding, I'm assuming again, like drinking fountains, kids will bring their water bottles and fill their drinking fountains and use the fountains again. So just kind of not anything about hallways or directional arrows or masks or anything. That was not even originally in this handbook. It's more kind of visitors coming into the building, those kinds of things. Questions?
anybody have any questions for Pam? All right,
Thank you.
middle school.
So mine this year was mostly just edits, cleaning up, changing time. We're gonna run 8:05 to 3:15 next year. It gives them time to drop at the elementary and the high school, then we drop and gives our kids plenty of time to eat to get into class by 8:05. And then it'll also help with, one of the things with middle school athletics is they tend to leave school early, and so it's just cutting into less of that time at the end of the day. Because we did hit that quite a bit, especially when we have to go to Ellsworth for like a 4:30 start. It's cutting it pretty close. So we adjusted. It's only 5 minutes, but the 5 minutes will make a difference. And then the other piece that we made some tweaks to was just how we're gonna handle cell phones and whatnot. Per our policy, they can be used between classes before or after school. We have flex spaces now, and we weren't sure how those were all going to work when we went into last year. Kids are fine to use those. We weren't using lockers, and so originally within the middle school, we said they needed to be kept in lockers. We just changed it to stored out of sight. So if they're in a pocket or upside down or somewhere in a backpack or whatever, then it's absolutely fine. It just gives us a little more clarity, we think. That could change too, and I could be saying something different a year from now, but this is what we're going to try for this coming year. So that was the biggest changes for us, not a whole lot.
Did anybody have any questions for Sarah?
Thanks.
Okay, Shannon.
I just had two things I wanted to highlight. Backpacks at the high school level are a big deal. in terms of like to kids. Many kids like to carry their backpack, some kids don't want anything to do with their backpack. We went back and forth over the years of they were allowed, then they weren't allowed, they were allowed, then they weren't allowed. Last year, as you remember, to start the year, everybody could carry a backpack with no lockers. I've heard from kids a lot, hoping that we still allow kids to carry backpacks, because for some of them, that is a very efficient mode of organization and don't want to run back and forth. I did have a conversation with Officer Farrell about it too, because way back, that was really the driving force behind why we weren't real keen on wanting kids to carry around backpacks in the event of carrying unwanted items around the building. He did not have a concern, so we are going to maintain allowing kids to use backpacks if they choose to. If they don't, great, then plenty of lockers available for that as well. The other thing I want to mention, which is on page 8, is removing the verbiage regarding weighted grading. So this has actually been on our radar for at least, Trish, probably 2+ years. And really this kind of was born out of, this should have occurred the year that Laude was implemented. And that was, so Laude kind of came about before I was in this position. And in 2018, the first year that we had no Val and Sal and went pure Laude with that graduating class, that should have been the year that we also phased out weighted grading, because those two systems don't play well together. Weighted grading, essentially, just to kind of bring you up to speed, you take a class that has weighted grading, you get a B on your transcript, it actually becomes an A. And as we are really trying hard to kind of redefine grading and what that looks like at the high school, and really having our grades try to accurately reflect what students know and can do, which in and of itself is hard with the straight A, B, C, D system, phasing that out. So starting this year, we won't have any of our classes functioning under weighted grading. Students that had taken a class with weighted grading prior to that, that all stays on their transcript, nothing with that gets messed with. And really this is only our AP classes and our CIS classes to the U of M. So it's not a ton of classes, it's a really small handful. And we've had some discussions about this with our building leadership team as well, which trickles down then to PLCs, just to kind of talk about, what that would look like. And really the biggest thing we came up with at our building is really needing to kind of reboot and remarket the Laude system, so kids really understand from freshman year on, and parents as well, why the Laude system exists, why we don't have Val and Sal anymore, and kind of the incentive behind taking some of those rigorous classes beyond just the weighted grading. So more to come on that, just with educating, some parents and students, the upperclassmen, most likely. But as I said, any current transcripts that have weighted grading on there, none of that is touched. It's just really kind of this year moving forward. So those were the two big things at the high school.
Did anybody have any questions for Shannon? Shannon, so right now you are not concerned that kids may choose not to take the AP and college and school classes because of the elimination of the weighted grading?
I don't think that the weighted grading has been the driver behind the type of numbers that we have in those classes, which is huge, and every year it's getting bigger. Frankly, part of that is because kids now have more opportunity throughout their career to access some of those classes. Not that I want to start talking about the schedule, but that's a pro of the schedule. And our numbers are showing that, and even talking to kids about this, which some of our teachers did before the end of the year, that has not been the driving force. For some kids, has that been the weighted grading been a huge thing? Yes. But again, part of what we think as a staff, we just need to do a better job of is educating our kids behind, again, the why behind the Laude beyond just the weighted grade, right, and what that looks like. So that's not on our radar in terms of a concern of kids now not taking those rigorous classes.
Okay.
Don't they just want the college credit a lot of?
So the college credit, and I know Trish can speak to this too, that many universities, once you apply, they actually unweight the grades in the GPA to kind of level the playing field for all students that are applying, because not all schools have weighted grading. So my opinion is the big draw of weighted grading is about 15 to 20 years old and kind of an antiquated practice at this point. As I did my research prior to this, just looking at other schools that do Laude, no school that I came across has those two systems working together. So it just was kind of nice timing, for lack of a better word, of hey, as we're cleaning up the handbook, now's kind of the time, as again, we're gonna use the fall for lots of rebooting, lots of things across the building as we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, and so I think it's the right thing to do, it's a good thing, it'll just take a little bit of education just so that people understand kind of the why behind it.
I was wondering, on page 2, you mentioned a specific staff person's name, and I was wondering if you might want to take her name out, so whether that person was doing that job or not, it could just say attendance secretary.
Oh, sure.
And then I noticed that in the middle school handbook, a Confederate flag was specifically mentioned, but it's not at the high school, and I was wondering if that was just something that was overlooked, or if there was reasoning behind it.
So we talked about that.
It's in the
We put
all,
that
it's in the all school one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yep.
got mixed up with the middle
Yep,
school.
it's in the all school one.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you already answered my question about the weight and grade. Thank you. Did anybody else have anything? All right, so this was the first reading on the student handbooks, and they will come back to our regular session for approval. Pam and Sarah, summer school.
So we started the second half, the session 2 started today. We have about 640-ish students attending. We're pretty positive, we're pretty happy. We're kind of where we were 2 years ago in terms of kids coming in, doing fun stuff, the campus is buzzing, there's lots of kids, lots of things going on. So it feels kind of normal, feels pretty good, feels kind of back to normal. Anything else, any questions you have? I mean, anything else to add?
No, we haven't lost anybody.
No,
We've
yeah.
gotten kids where they needed to go if they get off, some of them get off at
We've
the
walked back
elementary,
and
we
forth,
walk back and forth.
a few
It's-
times, yes, we have.
It's
That's good
working,
for us.
you know, today was a crazy day because they get into a class and they don't think they like it and, you know, got the switching and all that kind of stuff, but it appears to be going well, our staff's doing a great job.
Any questions?
Thank you, both of you, for doing this. Thank you a lot for kind of helping write this back to what it
We'll
should
see.
be. Hopefully,
You know,
hopefully this is,
State reporting is still looming out there, so.
well, thanks for doing it this year.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, then, the coach advisor handbook. Shannon, are you taking that for Trent?
I am, so, you should have received his memo, and you should have received the handbook. You know, he kind of left me some notes here, I went through it as well. I guess I'll maybe start with you guys in terms of if there's any questions that you saw. There weren't any big changes in the handbook, most of it pretty typical. He added in a few things from a recent training that he went to, otherwise some just kind of yearly updates for that.
Yep, it looked very similar. Did anybody else have any questions or comments, concerns about the coach advisor handbook?
I just saw one date that was, I think 2020 instead of 2021. It was the athlete signing days. It was the spring signing day should be 2021. I just can't find it right now.
Or should it be 22 because it's in the spring?
Yeah, 2022, yeah, 2022.
Okay.
But that was it. That
Yep.
was pretty minor.
Thank you for catching that. Then Shannon, you must be going to talk about the live stream coordinator also.
I am, yes. So, obviously you received a memo about this as well. You know, so live stream here, we just finished year 2. And this was really born out of, initially, you know, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, just Cody Wallen and a few staff members saying, hey, this might be kind of fun to try. Let's see if we can live stream a couple home athletic events and see how it goes. And after the first 2 or 3 of those, we had even a bigger group of staff members that wanted to help and try and put some of this production together. Cody actually went out and purchased all of the equipment with his own money, was producing this kind of on his own, and after year 1, we were very thankful moving into the pandemic that we had somebody so skilled and frankly with the equipment to be able to carry out live stream, because we all are aware, I'm sure at this point, how much we used that last year. If there are any, I suppose, silver linings coming out of our experience last year, the fact that we were able to live stream the number of events that we were with literally 0 issues and problems, having staff members volunteer their time, and then going beyond just our athletic events, from concerts to graduation to prom, things that we probably never would have imagined we would have to live stream. And now getting feedback from parents, families, and community members of please don't ever stop doing that. For grandma and grandpa in Eau Claire to, we had grandparents in Texas, to even people locally in town that just maybe can't make all of the events they'd like to make. So I know Trent and Cody have had a lot of conversations about kind of how does this evolve and where does this go next. Trent and I ended up having a lot of conversations, I know Mark was involved in those as well, of this position has really evolved into something beyond just volunteer, which is kind of where this came from, of adding this coordinator position and being able to, stipend Cody for the amount of work that he has put in over the last couple of years. Cody and I had some dialogue today in preparation for this meeting, and I think some really nice next steps with this are getting students involved. We have some students that I know would be interested in kind of seeing the production side of sports broadcasting and putting this whole thing together, because it is a production. If you would ever watch him get all of this set up, it doesn't just happen by clicking a camera and pushing a button. I mean, it's very complicated. And we also have a multimedia productions class, and we'd like to see some collaboration there. So we see this only getting bigger. And so we'd like to honor, the time that we know this person is putting into this position by providing a stipend. So
I would vote yes tonight.
Yeah.
I love this thing. Maybe they're just right in my wheelhouse, but their jokes are funny because I get them. Well, these guys are awesome.
Yes.
Yep, so it kind of, the straw that really brought this out was, we were looking for a larger place to hold board meetings. And we were trying to figure out where could we do it where we get reliable. We've moved them over to the library before and it was a disaster because we didn't have the equipment. The MPR isn't the best. We were all set to have them and hold this over at the elementary, and then we ran into problems with those semi-trailers that unloaded into the, so we just couldn't do it. But that's kind of, we got into with Corey and what would it take, and
Cody.
Cody, yeah. Before we vote on anything today, I still need to have some discussions with Dave, and there was a couple other questions I have with Trent. I asked him to get some more information about, other districts are doing this. Some are doing it internally, some are hiring services, and I just want a cost comparison to see, where we're at. So just you have all the information before you make the decision.
Right.
So, we put it on,
It seems like it's a huge investment on Cody's part, and whatever we can do to compensate him for that.
Yeah, I'm all in favor, but I just want you to have all the information first and see what other avenues there are, but I totally support the idea right now, but.
So this will come back.
We'll put it back on
to the regular session
right.
for
Yep.
a vote. Then we are to policy 0151.2, the required student academic standards. Trish.
Yes, sorry about the late memo. If you look at the link now, it is not going right to the website, it is going to a memo that explains the why behind this annual event. Per state statute, we have to have our curriculum aligned to state or national standards, and also per state statute and our policy, we have to make it public. And so this is the meeting that we typically do it at. There's a link to the website. The website has all the Wisconsin or national standards that we align our curriculum to. There's also a link on my website that will direct you to Wisconsin DPI's website to further explain what academic standards are, why they exist, how they help frame what we do every day here on campus. One thing to point out, sorry, interjecting, you'll see 2 math standards listed.
I did.
Yep, 2011 and then now.
Yes.
That's because those were just brought on board. We have not taken a look at them at all as a department or as a K-12. So that will be much of our work this year, along with year 2 of the ELA standards.
So does that mean 2011 will stay on there for this year? We'll have both?
Yes. as
I
we
was
transition.
also wondering about the financial literacy. Last year, you had a note about something with DPI approving financial literacy, and that's not listed. Is it incorporated in math or somewhere else?
No, they're incorporated in a couple places, but the financial literacy was put on hold because of COVID.
Oh,
So the rollout from DPI has become much slower in pace. So FIED also is on there because that was a year ago, and they started to do some regional meetings to start to incorporate them into our curriculum. Our PLC, our FIED PLC, has been working really hard to align learning targets to the new standards and make sure that we have that all covered. Personal finance, we have not even scratched the surface on that yet. So that will be coming up as well. But DPI just kind of put the brakes on a little bit with rolling those out.
okay, thank you.
So how does this work as a board? Are we able to review the curriculum? I've had a number of parents already reach out to me concerned about critical race. And I know there's parts in there that have popped out and people have screenshotted to send me. So what does this look like as a whole? Are we able to pull parts out that don't align with our belief system in our district, or what does that?
So this is not the curriculum, these are the standards.
Okay.
It's very different.
Okay.
So we look at the standards and then we look for strong resources that have been vetted against the standards, along with creating assessment, creating instruction that is aligned to learning targets, which is aligned to state or national standards. So primarily it's more procedural in nature, as we are governed by the state and funded by federal government as well. So the standards you can do anytime, you can go in there, and that is what we align everything to.
Okay.
So there is a state statute that requires that we approve our academic standards at the first meeting in July every year. So on the agenda, this is listed as possible action, so we do need to take action on this item tonight to approve the student academic standards as they are posted on our website. So would anybody like to make a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion to approve policy 015.
No, it's not the policy, it's the academic standards.
I will make a motion to approve the academic standards.
All right, so Bruce has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marge. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Parent survey. Results and process. I believe you were emailed out these items. The results are pretty one way, easy to see. Did anybody have any
Are
questions?
you able to link them to the agenda? Is there anything we can do? Can we pull them up on the board so people can see them? And we
I can do either of those things.
So you pull them up, please.
Yeah. Do you want them linked to the agenda also?
Yes.
May as well.
Yeah, if we don't, we're gonna get it.
Okay.
So it was 683 responses? That you said
654 responses.
654.
Sorry guys, just one second.
It's pulled up. So this was, the questions were asking about summer school, or the survey was about summer school, and it's obviously, I don't think we'd have any different results if we did the school year, so I think it's pretty clear
I think I did.
that
it matches what the staff survey was, pretty darn close.
Pretty darn close numbers.
Would you like the memo up or the?
Just that pie graph is perfect. So that was our first question for the mass required indoors and outdoors. Strongly disagree. And disagree, we're 97%, almost 98.
It's all on the memo.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull the memo up too, I guess, there. There, that's pretty clear,
Yeah.
I guess.
So based on these results, are we able to do a vote on this and move forward for summer and into the fall so parents can make decisions?
Not at this time, it's not on the agenda.
So it's on the agenda, so.
Parent survey is.
Yes, you're right, it is on the agenda as a parent survey. Now, if we make a motion, I mean, we all have made motions and we all have approved things that have not been on the agenda for action.
Really?
I think so, yeah, we did it a couple weeks ago, because you said the same thing, it's not on the agenda for action. Oh, I don't know what topic it was. I know we did it a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I guess.
I don't know.
But I mean, I'm just, granted, I don't like doing this with a short board here, especially the way we have it, but it's pretty unanimous, not unanimous, but pretty weighted one way.
You cannot make a motion on a policy that
That's
is not
not-
listed on the agenda.
Okay.
Is there something we can do
Well,
based on
This
this development?
discussion was to look at the results
Okay.
and to talk about a process moving forward. The process for this particular survey was not very clean. There was not a motion made at the last meeting. It, if I remember right, it might have even come up in the once around the table,
Yeah.
which is why Mark is the one who sent out the questions to the board and asked people to respond only to him, so that we did not have a walking quorum. So I would like to make sure that in the future, when the board wants to put out a survey, that we have a process that we adhere to, so that we all are on the same page and it's taken care of at a meeting with an official motion and vote, rather than Mark having to send out emails. And Mark, you want to add something to
It
that?
just, I think technically, for this to be brought back, a person from the majority of the last motion has to bring it back, which would mean they'd be changing their vote, because here's a situation now where two people are gone. And, you know, and this could keep happening, meeting after meeting, and keep bringing it back because certain people aren't here, so, and I believe that's technically the way it has to happen, that someone from the majority vote last time has to bring it back to the table. And I can verify that, but
Yeah, because we went through that article at our June 5th meeting.
Yeah, so I guess what I would like to ask to the two board members who are here on the other side, would you be willing and open to bringing that policy back to the next agenda so that we could amend the policy to match clearly what our community and staff are in support of?
You said to the next agenda.
To the July meeting, I guess, to make a motion at the July meeting so that people have a month to, so they know where we are as a board. So yes, the July meeting for amending or updating policy.
So it'd be July 26th, I believe.
Since it's not on the
Why don't we have a
agenda.
special session, like tomorrow or something?
Well,
In the gym, so people can come.
Because people wouldn't get the emails, let's go.
Because
We're
open
wasting our time
enrollment
here.
is at the end of July for other places, so I feel like this
This
is
is
just like
not a
ridiculous.
time for public comment.
It's the only time we get.
Because you can have public discourse anytime you want, Lori.
Yes,
You have the
anytime.
authority.
Where's your phone number, Lori, for people to talk to, not during this time?
Hey,
then?
hey, hey,
We're
hey,
like,
hey,
the option
just-
asked you.
Please,
We're trying to have
just
a-
let
let's
us,
see
let
if
us,
we can get
let us
this-
talk about this for a second. I hear you. We all hear
Here's the
you.
thing, no, here's the
Here's
thing.
the
You guys
Hey,
gotta
you know what?
understand.
Why don't you just
guys
leave then if
gotta
you're not gonna stop
understand-
talking?
Listen,
Yeah.
you guys gotta understand that early enrollment to other districts ends at the end of the month.
We know,
If you're gonna
know
pull
this.
your
Hey,
kids out and go online.
hey, I'm
they gotta
trying
go-
to help you here. Please.
No, you're not,
Just,
Bruce.
please.
Jesus,
Okay, let
let's
us.
go. I haven't eaten yet today.
Hangry. That makes perfect sense. Jeez.
Can we
I've
get a
eaten all day and
special
I'm not
session
leaving.
later this week with more than a 24-hour notice in place, and we can vote on this?
I work the rest of the week. I will not be here. I can
That's
tell
fine,
you
we
that
don't
right
need you here,
now.
Marge.
Well,
That's fine.
it's- we
We
don't,
don't need your
we don't wanna do
input.
it. We wanna have a full board here. We don't wanna
Yeah.
underhand this.
There's never a
I
full
know,
board here.
that's fine.
Well,
There
it
is.
has been it has been a lot of times in a row, so.
So it's convenient.
Is there
Maybe a free lunch in the back or
Is there a
something.
chance of maybe meeting on a Saturday morning even, or, I mean, maybe we could come up with.
I am not willing to make a motion to bring this policy back. Marge, are you?
I will make the motion to bring it back. I'm tired of this. Just, So I'll make the motion to bring it back next meeting,
At the July 26th meeting.
at the July 26th meeting.
Is there,
Is there a second to Marge's?
well, hold on. Is there any way we would have a special session possibly next Monday? If I know you don't, you only have Mondays off.
Yeah.
I know that's the issue with the meetings during the week, so we'd be able to do it next Monday. Are you available? I'm available. Are you available next Monday?
Thanks, ladies.
I am
You
not
could literally
sure
maybe
right
just take
now.
15 minutes, a half hour. It won't be like, maybe like a regular meeting.
And we could do it via Zoom for anyone who couldn't be present on site.
Tasia, could you reach out to all of the board members to see if they would be available for a Monday, July 19th meeting at 6 o'clock?
I'll do whatever works for everybody else.
Nothing
All right,
to
but
know.
first of all, right now, we have a motion by Marge. No one has seconded it yet.
I will second it.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to bring back policy,
To have masks optional.
we need a
for
policy
So we gotta have a
number.
policy number.
85, 40,
8450 or 8451, I don't remember.
8450.01
And we should probably bring both of them.
or 8450.
Just so they're both on.
Yep, 8450 and 8450.01.
So those two, Tasia.
Can I amend that to be clear that, I know, Marge, you made the motion for the next board meeting, but can I amend that to be a special session? Or does that just imply that it's the next meeting, which would be the special session?
Should probably say it.
Well, I'd like to amend Marge's motion to revisit the stated policies that we all.
Wait a second. I asked Tasia if she would reach out to the board members to see if everyone was available. So we're not setting the date yet. It depends on if people are available.
Okay.
So.
But you weren't asking for a
Marge's-
specific
I'm not
date, you were
asking-
saying the next meeting, whether it was special session or regular session.
The next meeting.
The next meeting.
Can I get clarification on the time? That was required, was there?
I'll make anything work.
Whatever.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock or later.
I think
The rest
6
of it is the
o'clock
same.
is when our meetings are, did we
Yes.
say
Yeah.
that they're starting 6 o'clock from
Yes.
now on for this year?
Yep. But if we have to have a special session at a different time.
So at 6 PM or later?
Mhm.
Is there a time frame you'd like them to reply by with their availability?
Today is Monday, I don't know, by 3 o'clock on, I was thinking maybe Thursday? Or 5 o'clock, how late are you here, Tasia?
3:30.
The rest of the week is a little
Off.
off.
Let's say, by 6 o'clock on Thursday, because it doesn't have to be publicly posted until Friday anyway.
And you still have a motion and a second on the table, Lori?
Yep. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I am opposed. So the motion carries 4-1. All right.
So just quick on the process,
Yes.
so just in general, any surveys that would go out, we were saying we would want to have a motion made
Yes.
about who was, I guess, handling the survey, so we don't have a board or an admin or so we have a motion to send out surveys from now on is kind of the.
I'd like a motion, and to make sure that it would be helpful if we had the survey, if there were enough time to do a survey, that we could see the survey at a meeting and vote and have that
Right.
discussion, rather than Mark having to gather that input separately.
Have we had to do that before with surveys, like the one that was sent out last summer to parents? I don't remember us, I remember, and maybe I'm wrong, that administration just took it and did it.
We did. And, again, just the understanding from that meeting where we're talking what's on the table was, thought we were pretty clear on what the admin team spent the next morning, when I was gone, so I was dealing with them on the road. And they spent the morning crafting that version of it out, and it was very typical of how we've worked in the past. So, and again, it's, I take direction from the board, and that wasn't acceptable, so the new one was crafted and put out. And this is it. So, again, if you want to come up with some process or procedure for how we do these surveys, fine. But to answer your question, we've done them all just ourselves with an understanding we thought, we had here.
So that's kind of what, so the fact that it went from being an administration duty to somehow being a board duty was a surprise to me, because since I've been on the board anyway, I believed that surveys were created by you, or the administration. And is it typical of school boards to do surveys? I thought it was more of an administration duty. I'm trying to, for clarification.
My experience, it's been an administrative duty. However, things like school perceptions, if the school board wants something specific, they can hire school perceptions to do that. A little philosophy here. To me, my whole career, it's never been good to do things like this on a 4-3 vote. It just isn't, because there's just too much on both sides that can go wrong, or people have feelings about it. So I always strive for consensus, and I think the way the administrative team works, our meetings aren't always smooth, but we hammer through things to, here's how we're gonna present ourselves, here's what the issues are, we know this person has these feelings. So again, we strive for consensus, but I take direction from the board.
And because at the last meeting, it was the consensus of the board to send out a survey, which some had asked for several times, I was not going to make that decision on my own to not send it out.
No, I wouldn't want to not send one out, but I'm struggling with the fact that the first draft wasn't acceptable for some reason. It was concise, it asked direct questions. It brought up summer school and fall, which I didn't think summer school was even relevant at that point, but I thought, that's fine. Maybe there are people that want to participate in the last week of summer school if masks are optional. So I thought, okay, we'll leave the summer school portion. But the fall portion is what I believed the parents were more concerned about. And I'm curious why that survey created by administrators, which is our procedure in the past, was completely rewritten. That to me didn't make sense. I thought, I notified Mark on June 23rd that I thought the first draft was acceptable. And I received a phone call on July 1st saying, well, it's gonna go out this new way, because there was a board majority that wanted it to go out the new way. So I don't know that I really want to talk about a process where the board is doing surveys. I trust administrators to gather the pertinent information that we need, especially with your experience as people that are gathering data from the community and parents. So I don't know that I really want to have a process for us developing surveys. I trust sticking with administration doing that.
And when we left that meeting, that was the directive, was that Mark was going to be putting that together based on hearing what was being said from administration, parents, the staff. And that was our agreement walking out of this room, is that was where it was going to be done from.
At that meeting, it was discussed that the board would see the survey and weigh in on it before it was sent out. And Mark collected that data.
4 members of the board.
Well, is this coming back to the next meeting? Because I definitely don't want to work on a process of the board creating surveys. I would be opposed to that. I would like to stick with administrators who know how to ask these questions. That's your professional input on these things, where you know how to ask the questions that need to be asked to get the relevant information from the parents and the community. So I know, 10B says, let's, talk about a process, and I would suggest that the process is we leave it with administrators.
I like it. I agree.
I agree, it's not our job.
We asked them to do the survey. They develop it.
And the one sent to us on June 22nd was great. It was a summer, fall, it was concise, it was to the point, room for comments, submit. And the new survey that was created was completely a different format than the first one. So it was confusing. And I think it's good to just leave it. I don't think we've had complaints about how, well, I shouldn't be all-inclusive, but I don't think we've had many major complaints about the way surveys have been administered in the past. So it's kind of a, if it's not broke, but don't fix it thing for me.
And I haven't received any complaints, and we surveyed, how many surveys did we do this last year, just to try to keep people in the loop and ask opinions about, ever since we formed the reopening committee, all the way through the fall and winter, it's the only, so. Tasia, if you feel that any of the administrators have fielded any complaints. Whatever you want, whatever direction, that's, what we do.
I just don't want to be in a situation like we were in this last time.
I'm confused. What situation were we in?
Where the direction of the board was to have board approval before the survey went out, and Mark collected that data, and then he and I were scrambling to try to work something out, and I don't want to be in that position. And I just want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
What was wrong with that survey though?
Yeah, what had to be worked out?
A majority of the board had a concern about a question relating to the fall. They thought that, well, I guess I shouldn't say what they thought. All I know is what Mark sent to me. Is that correct, that that was the
Well, I think
major
the fall
concern?
was the big, I don't have my email up here, but I think, you know, the 3 people said go with it, and then there was the same concern amongst the other 4 board members about something about the fall, but I just can't remember what it is. That was
Something to read.
relevant at this
Well-
time or something.
So I don't wanna be in this position again.
Well, I guess, Lori, you were the one who asked that the board review it. And that was the only comment you made on that whole time. You didn't say a word when we were asking about even giving the survey.
Yeah, I don't
You stayed
remember.
quiet.
I'd have to go
I
back
did
and
watch the video
Okay.
as, just to make sure to see what actually happened, and it was, you know, Marge, you said, yeah, get that survey out. The 3 of us said get the survey out, but I didn't hear anybody else say anything, so I hear what you're saying, as in, there was just 4 people saying get the survey out, and then you brought up addressing the, making sure the board looked at it, and I think what you're saying, Roxanne, is, or in my mind, I'm not gonna put words, but in my mind it is, if the survey goes out and results come back, and we look at the questions and we say, hold on, wait. That question shouldn't have been asked, or we don't agree with how that one was asked, or there's some funny results on that one, or we get a lot of complaints about a question. I think maybe then we address that item later as a process, but maybe we let them send it out as is, you know. I guess that's what I'm thinking, that, you said they developed a survey, why are we asked them to do the survey, why are we then adjusting it?
Well, and I don't know what the specific complaint was or concern from my fellow board members about that first survey. I'd be interested to know that, because I look at it and I don't see where there's a problem with it in obtaining information from parents, which is the intent of a survey. It was very straightforward. Unless I'm missing some big thing, I still don't understand why it wasn't acceptable. And if we had just sent out that survey, we wouldn't be in this position right now. I mean, we wouldn't have had the very understandable complaints about that survey. The first one would have been sufficient, and I really think that the public would have been happy with it.
Well, and let's think big picture. We're in July. If we're going to mandate masks into the fall, parents need time to find alternatives, and that's what's going to happen. So if we're gonna be focused 1 month at a time and not give parents the ability to say, this is where we're at right now because the numbers are low, we are making a decision based on our data today, so you guys can make a decision what you're going to do with your kids for enrollment. If something changes in September or October and numbers go up and we need to adjust at that point, we can adjust, but we've got to honor our families, our constituents, and give them the opportunity to plan out more than a month. We're bringing this back up the end of July. That gives nobody any time, hardly, to adjust. And it's just, it's common courtesy. These are the people that voted us here. We can't month by month this. We have to make a decision and allow them the opportunity to know where we stand.
Thanks for considering the people.
Make a decision.
Based on all of the data that we have.
We have made this decision
4
several
people.
times now. My concern and the reason I wanted it to the board to be able to see it ahead of time is because I had staff tell me that when they took the staff survey, they thought they only had 2 choices. And I didn't want that to happen again. That's was my personal concern. I cannot speak for the other board members. And as far as the original, you know, I understand what you're saying about giving people time to make decisions. things have changed so much so quickly with this. And that is another reason I wanted to wait before addressing the fall. You know, right now we have states that are shutting down again. And look, this is my goal. My goal is to keep teaching, keep learning, and keep everybody safe. I want our school district to be open all year again like we were last year. That is my goal. I don't want parents scrambling for daycare and not being able to go to work because school is shut down. I want all of our kids to be able to go to school all year next year. And whatever it takes to do that, that is what I will vote for.
This is not a dictatorship.
So when are we
Keep
going
talking,
to address
leave.
fall for our families?
That's a board decision. It's not up to me alone. I have never made decisions on my own. I have always had a board vote. And sometimes I've been in the minority, but I didn't keep bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back.
And we do bring it back, but it is based on developments. I mean, now we're looking at this survey based on the feedback from the survey that was sent to the parents. And what I would like to suggest to everybody is we've wasted time in not surveying the parents on the fall. I would like to suggest that we as a group look at this data from this survey that was based on the summer and basically equate it to what their feelings are for the fall, because we've lost precious time. So my guess is it would, even if we polled about the fall, there might even be a bigger feedback group of people that give us feedback, and the numbers might even be bigger. So I would like to, food for thought, consider this what the parents prefer for the fall, and we really need to
Follow the majority.
take this into consideration. Now we have this from the parents. We have the data from the staff. We have many adults that have been vaccinated and children. We have school districts all around us that are masks optional. You know, it's like a broken record. We're not saying people can't wear masks. Anybody can wear a mask that wants to. But, you know, what are we gonna do for the teachers? Hopefully, we're gonna allow them to not wear masks if they choose not to, now that we've had new information from the CDC, if that's who we're following. But, I mean, teachers are disappointed. Some of them said they only got vaccinated because they don't wanna wear masks. I mean, I just feel like we're doing such a disservice to so many people based on, and with all due respect, I don't mean to pick on you and Marge, I'm not. I'm just trying to reason with you a little bit. And I'm trying, I'm not being disrespectful, trust me, I'm not. I just wish you would find it in your heart to look at what has been given to us, and that we were making these decisions for this huge group of people who have told us they want masks optional. And I want to listen to them. It's the right thing to do. And I say, I believed in masks in the beginning of the year. I was 100% on board. I wanted our staff and our students to all be safe. 100% I wanted masks. But we have evolved in this process with everything I mentioned earlier. And it behooves us as a board listening to the people to vote accordingly. I mean, I get it that you want to keep people safe, but we can't save the world. And other districts around us are taking that leap of faith that it's time for masks optional.
Optional being the very key word. Anybody who wants to wear one to feel safe can wear one.
Absolutely, and I would even be 100% behind,
I
hey,
think
let's have
we
anti-bullying.
are off topic.
Yep.
Majority rules in America still.
This is what we're gonna discuss at the
I
next
know
meeting.
it's off topic, but
Guys.
I know it's off topic, but it's, and I know you say we keep bringing it back, but we bring it back because there are more developments supporting bringing it back. So I'm gonna talk about it whenever I possibly can.
I'm calling the point.
Well, Roxanne is basically just stating what the data is saying. That's what you're.
Is there any
And why
further
ignore it?
discussion about the parent survey results or process?
Have you read them?
Please listen to them, that is
Yes, I
that's what
have.
I'm gonna say.
And act on it soon.
You can leave if you're gonna keep interrupting.
There should be public discourse in public.
You can leave.
No, this
Please,
is
just-
a meeting of the board in public. It is not a public meeting.
By public servants.
Watch them around the country. There's nice public discourse in so
I
many school
think
board meetings
that
around the
is
country.
Continue the meeting.
Yeah, just go to the next one.
Topics for action then,
I know you don't like it.
we have personnel updates and the Wold invoices. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 11A, 1 and 2, B, 1.
Bruce has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I wish Shannon hadn't just left because I have a question about the athletics activities personnel update. Maybe you can answer my.
Which one?
There was a replacement listed there for Joel Leonard. Joel Leonard was an official assistant coach for basketball, and the person who's listed as replacing him is listed as a volunteer. Is that accurate? Does anybody know?
Yeah, that I don't know. I wonder if Shannon's still here. Oh, no, wait, he ran out to some baseball game.
So that is my concern about, you know, if.
I would, if it's on there, I'd let it go the way it is. If we have to amend it, next meeting, let's do it. It's gotta be
Okay.
on there for a reason. I just don't know what the reason
All right.
is.
So, we have a motion on the table and a second.
Can I ask the start date of Mindy? She doesn't have an effective date on there, Trish.
It would be the beginning of the official new employee in-service days, which would be the end of August.
We typically put in I asked that question myself, because we typically put in 7/1 meeting fiscal year, but the official start date is our welcome back week. Because she was hired after 7/1, I wasn't sure what to put in there. We put tomorrow, because her contract would be a fiscal year. She will be coming in to help with ELA adoption as we start looking at the standards and resources and go through that process in August, and we'll start some coaching training. So I'm not sure exactly.
Officially, her contract is 7/1.
Yeah.
2022, June 30th, 2022.
So it should say 7/1, just like Edward.
Pretty much,
Should
that's-
be the same thing. I mean, that's what I was wondering, because that was a teacher certified 7/1. And it was the reading one, there was nothing in it. So I just, as long as it's 7/1,
That's
I
her
don't care, I
contract,
just, okay,
yes.
yeah, that's fine. I just want to make sure we got it clear. Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments about the topics for action? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries then. Once around the table, Mark.
Just to let you know that they're gonna start digging tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
That's why the orange tape is up?
that's right, and so I don't know what the access to this building will be for our next meeting, so we may stay tuned.
Okay, thank you. Marge?
I have a couple comments, but I'll reserve them for the next meeting.
All right.
And I'm just glad, one thing, the live stream, I think that would be great to involve the kids in those programs too.
Mhm.
That's great.
Thank you. Our Spartan Kid Care got some more grants, so that is wonderful. She's doing a fabulous job. I've lost track of how many grants. This might be the 6th round, I'm
I'll
not
say
sure.
5 or 6 of them.
So fabulous. We have some annual reports that are necessary for our August work session, and I sent that information to Tasia. Tasia, would you make sure that the appropriate people know? I can resend that email if you'd like.
Okay.
And I did contact Ryan Bain with the ones that had to do with student health. So he already has that. He's working this summer, right, Mark? Ryan Bain?
He's working on some.
Yeah, so he's checking his school email.
Yep.
All right, Bruce.
Just, I was gonna ask the same thing Mark did. When we find where we're gonna be for our next meeting, probably shouldn't be here.
I mean, we very well could be here, but we might be walking in on planks or something.
Well,
And if we can get the,
see if we can set up maybe.
Sheree?
So yeah, if we can get a larger facility somehow, some way to allow more people, that would be awesome. School perceptions mediation date, when are we gonna get that on the books?
We are still working on that.
Is it going to be yet this summer, or?
I hope so, but it depends. Mark and I have been working on it.
well, if you wanna look at a work session, then that's what it's gonna have to be, so.
August work session. Or
Unless we-
not the
I
work
don't
session,
wanna
a special
commit right
session.
now.
Yeah.
I would really like to get that on the books at our next meeting.
I would like to get it on the books too, but as soon as possible. Anything else?
Nope.
Roxanne?
Okay, we received a letter back on April 12th from parents about informed consent and the right to refuse masks for their daughter. I'm wondering what we do with those. Just if, you know, maybe they're turned over to the lawyer, I'm not sure, but it seemed rather official to me that, and I'm wondering what we do with that.
What we've done this last year when we've had a request, you know, it's typically for a medical reason. It's been a case by case, you know, what the situation is. And principle wise, I don't know if you've had anybody in your buildings that you have made that exception for? Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. We received a pretty passionate email from a middle school teacher about how masks and our new policy with splitting the age groups is causing could potentially cause a divide in many ways. And I just implore my fellow board members to take that email into consideration. I thought it was really well thought out and presented very professionally. When we're talking about policies, I would also encourage my fellow board members, if we're gonna, at one point, I know we talked about masks being part of the dress policy or dress code, and when not wearing them, it could be a violation. So for dress and grooming in policy 5511, the board recognizes that each student's mode of dress and grooming is a manifestation of personal style and individual preference. The board will not interfere with the right of students and their parents to make decisions regarding their appearance. I'm not gonna read the whole policy, but I just highlighted a few things. Also, preventing the student from achieving his or her own educational objectives because of blocked vision or restricted movement. These are rights that these students have under our policies. We have a philosophy in policy 2110. The purpose of education is to facilitate the development of the potential of each student. In a free society, every individual has both the right and responsibility to make choices and decisions for himself or herself and for society. We encourage self-sufficiency within our students, that is to meet their own needs to the extent they are able in their own way and without inhibiting others' opportunity to do the same. We have policies that if we took language out of them, it would support masks optional. Another one.
Language out of them.
If you just looked at some of the language that we have published in our policies, it would support masks being a choice.
And there's more to the policies.
There is, and you're fair enough, absolutely, but, if we're looking at policies, and what serves us with our decision-making, in the policy that we have for, wearing masks, it says that, and dang it, I had it printed, during times of elevated communicable disease, community spread, pandemic or epidemic, or declared public health emergency, the district administrator will issue periodic guidance and procedures. That's in our own 845001. And we don't really have, I mean, if we look at the data from the St. Croix County Health, we don't have elevated numbers in this disease. So we could potentially look at that and say, well, we're no longer during times of an elevated communicable disease, perhaps we don't need to wear, perhaps we can make masks optional. So what I'm saying is, and Bruce, I appreciated in one of the previous meetings you said, you know, pointing out that on the St. Croix County Public Health website, that this is only an advisory and it is not enforceable by law enforcement or anyone else. So we are anyone else. I know there was some talk in one of the last meetings that, well, anyone else refers to, and I can't even remember, but it was another law enforcement agency or something to that effect. But I look at us like we're anyone else and we can't enforce it. So, you know, we can say that masks are advised per St. Croix County Health, but we can't really enforce it or expect our teachers and our administrators to enforce it, is what I'm reading when I look at the website. So, long story, I encourage my fellow board members to look through all the policies, and there is language within other policies that could potentially give us, and give parents, the right to make choices for their children on what they wear to school, if we want to look at it like that. Long way around it, but just look at the policies.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Bruce. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Roxanne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 7:33. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.